Just as I prepared to exchange vows, my dream wedding took an unexpected turn. My father-in-law's sharp command to kneel before him sent my heart racing. With all eyes on me, I obeyed, unaware that his reason would leave me utterly speechless. The sun sparkled off the dewdrops clinging to the grass as I smoothed down my white wedding dress. My heart fluttered with excitement and nerves. Today was the day I'd marry Simon, the love of my life. I took a deep breath. Inhaling the sweet scent of wildflowers that bordered the elegant outdoor venue near the manor. The ancient forest loomed behind us, its leaves rustling gently in the breeze. Everything was perfect: the weather, the setting, the man waiting for me at the altar. As I began my walk down the aisle, my eyes locked with Simon's. His smile widened, and I felt my lips curve upward in response. This was it. This was our moment. We reached the officiant, and just as we were about to begin our vows, a cold voice cut through the air like a knife. "Stop!" Simon's father, Thomas, commanded. "Before you continue, you must kneel before Maine." My mouth fell open in shock. I turned to Simon, hoping for some explanation, but he looked just as confused as I felt. "Why?" I gasped. Thomas's face remained impassive. "Do it now." I glanced around at our guests, their faces brimming with surprise and discomfort. My cheeks burned with humiliation as I slowly lowered myself to my knees, my snow-white dress pooling around me on the grass. "Dad, what are you doing?" Simon hissed, his hand on my shoulder. Thomas ignored him, his eyes fixed on me. "My dear," he began, his voice softening slightly, "this box contains something very special." I blinked back tears as Thomas continued, "It's a family tradition to present this to the bride, and it must be done while she kneels as a sign of respect and blessing." He opened a small, ornate box, revealing an exquisite necklace that caught the sunlight and sent rainbows dancing across my vision. "This necklace has been in our family for generations," Thomas explained, his voice taking on a reverent tone. "Each bride who wears it has been blessed with a long and happy marriage. I wanted to give it to you in the traditional way." My initial feelings of humiliation began to mix with astonishment. A tear rolled down my cheek, no longer from shame, but from the profound weight of the moment. Thomas then pulled out a letter sealed with an old wax stamp. His hands trembled slightly as he held it out to me. "This letter was written by my late wife," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "She wanted to pass on her blessings to her son's bride." With shaking hands, I carefully broke the seal and unfolded the letter. The paper was soft and slightly yellowed with age. As I began to read, I could almost hear the voice of the woman I'd never had the chance to meet. "My dearest daughter-in-law," the letter began. "Though we may never meet in this life, know that you are loved and welcomed into our family with open arms." I looked up at Thomas, my vision blurry with tears. I don't know what to say," I whispered. He smiled gently. "You don't have to say anything. Just stand, and let me place this necklace around your neck." As I rose to my feet, the crowd erupted in applause. The guests wiped tears from their eyes, clearly moved by the unexpected display of family tradition. Thomas carefully fastened the necklace around my neck. The weight of it felt significant, not just physically but emotionally. I touched it gently, feeling the smooth, cool stones against my skin. "Thank you," I said softly, looking up at Thomas. "This means more than you know." He nodded, a hint of a smile on his usually stern face. "Welcome to the family, Elisa." Just as the moment of tension seemed to have passed, an angry voice cut through the air. "How could you?" I turned to see Nancy, Simon's sister, storming towards us. Her face was flushed with anger, her fists clenched at her sides. "How could you give our family heirloom to this stranger?" she shouted, glaring at her father. "Mom would never have wanted this. It should have gone to me, your own daughter." A hush fell over the guests as Nancy continued her tirade. "This girl doesn't deserve it. Mom would be rolling in her grave." I felt my chest tighten. the joy of the moment evaporating in an instant. Simon stepped forward, placing himself between Nancy and me. "Nancy, that's enough," he said firmly. But Nancy wasn't finished. She turned to me, her eyes blazing. "You think you can just waltz in here and take everything that belongs to our family? You don't even know what that necklace means?" Before I could respond, Thomas stepped forward. His face was calm, but his voice carried a steely edge. "Enough, my dear," he said, addressing Nancy. "Your mother and I discussed this many times. This necklace is meant for the bride of our son as a symbol of unity and the continuation of our family's love and traditions." Nancy's lower lip trembled. "But Dad—" Thomas raised a hand, silencing her. "You will receive your mother's wedding ring, another precious heirloom which she wanted you to have. This necklace is not about who is blood, but about who joins our family and carries our legacy forward. Respect your brother's choice and welcome his bride with an open heart." The crowd began to murmur in agreement. Nancy's face flushed even deeper, anger and embarrassment evident in her expression. Without another word, she turned on her heel and walked away, leaving an awkward silence in her wake. I stood there, frozen, unsure of what to do or say. Simon squeezed my hand reassuringly and hugged me. Thomas turned back to us, his eyes softening once more. "I apologize for the disruption," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Now let's continue with this beautiful ceremony." The officiant cleared his throat. "Shall we proceed with the vows?" I nodded, still feeling shaken. "Yes, let's continue," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. As Simon and I exchanged our vows, I felt a new depth to the words we spoke. The weight of the necklace around my neck reminded me that I wasn't just marrying Simon. I was becoming part of a family with its own rich history and traditions. "I, Elisa, take you, Simon, to be my lawfully wedded husband," I began, my voice growing stronger with each word. "To have and to hold, from this day forward, for better or for worse, for richer or poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death do us part." Simon's eyes shone as he repeated the vows back to me. When he slipped the ring onto my finger, I felt a surge of love so strong it nearly took my breath away. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," the officiant declared. "You may kiss the bride." As Simon leaned in to kiss me, the crowd erupted in cheers and applause. For a moment, all the drama of the day faded away, and it was just the two of us, starting our new life together. Simon leaned in close to whisper in my ear, "Ready to face our new life together, Mrs. Clark?" I squeezed his hand and smiled. "More than ready," I replied. "But something tells me it's going to be quite an adventure." Little did I know just how right I was. The reception was in full swing, the Manor's grand ballroom filled with laughter, music, and the clinking of champagne glasses. Simon and I made our rounds, greeting guests and accepting congratulations. As we approached Thomas's table, I felt a mix of nervousness and gratitude. He stood as we neared, a warm smile on his face. "Elisa, Simon," he said, "I hope you can forgive the rather dramatic start to the ceremony." Simon chuckled, embracing me. "Well, Dad, you certainly know how to make an impression." I touched the necklace gently. "It's beautiful, Dad. Thank you for sharing this tradition with me." Thomas's eyes misted over slightly. "You know my wife, Simon's mother? She always said that traditions are the threads that weave a family together. I think she'd be very pleased to see you wearing that necklace, Elisa." As we stood there, looking out at the starry sky, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The day had been full of surprises, some challenging, some wonderful. But through it all, I'd gained not just a husband, but a whole new family.